Hello, and welcome once again. Today, we'll be heading somewhere remote, straight into the Appalachian mountain range. But we're not there for a scenic hike. We're there to explore one of the most cryptic and effective communication systems ever documented, a hidden language used exclusively for survival in truly anomalous environments. Our mission is focused, a complete documentation of SCP-8411, an entry that belongs to the larger narrative series known as Run the River Red. This is the story of a collection of strange symbols that are etched or painted onto trees. We're going to decode this from start to finish, treating it like a high-stakes survival guide written in a code that is not just read, but instantly psychically understood. We'll analyze the core facts, the weird mechanism of this language, and the chilling catalogue of warnings it contains. Let's start with the core identifiers. The phenomenon is designated SCP-8411, but that immediately brings us to a crucial point of clarification, the paradox of its classification. SCP-8411's designated object class, safe. Safe does not mean harmless. It means the anomaly is either reliably contained, its effects are completely understood, or, and this is the key here, its manifestation is predictable. It happens under known parameters. This distinction is vital because, as we'll see, what these symbols communicate is existential terror. The safe classification feels almost ironic. The file tells us that information is potentially lethal, but the mechanism for its transmission is so predictable and geographically specific that the containment strategy itself is rated safe. The predictability is the key to containing it, not the content being benign. SCP-8411 refers to symbols discovered on various species of birch trees found throughout the Appalachians. This anchors the anomaly to a specific, common feature of the landscape, giving us a clear boundary for where this communication can and cannot happen. The documentation emphasizes the sheer variability in how these symbols are made. They are carved into wood, painted, drawn with spray paint, or sketched in charcoal. The craftsmanship is all over the place, which tells a critical story. This suggests a distributed network, created by many different, uncoordinated individuals, or small desperate groups spread across the mountains. It points to a vast, grassroots communication network where people use this instant language for real-time, high-stakes survival against something truly terrifying. It's a collective warning painted across the trees. This leads us directly to the paradox of containment. If these are just markings made by locals, why the massive Foundation response? The special containment procedures are brutally simple. Any instances found along hiking trails must be destroyed. Not documented, not cordoned off, destroyed. Personnel are explicitly permitted to scratch out, vandalize, or remove sections of bark to corrupt the anomaly. They are actively defacing nature to prevent a psychological transfer of information. The necessity of this vandalism underscores the information's potency. If a symbol can instantly drop a concept of pure danger into your mind, the only way to safeguard the public is immediate visual removal. You are destroying information before it can be processed. But here lies a tactical contradiction. While they destroy the symbol on the trail, they also have to manage the information flow. The procedures state that bark containing new symbols must be carefully removed and transported to Site 898 for cataloguing. So, they find something so dangerous it must be immediately destroyed, but if it's a new warning, they must risk themselves to preserve it for analysis. This emphasizes that the anomaly is continuously evolving. New threats emerge, forcing the Foundation to constantly update their internal codebook. They are maintaining a constantly updated language of survival that is so potent it must be destroyed on site, yet carefully archived. Now, let's pivot to the core mechanism. Why these symbols require such extreme measures? This is where the file moves beyond standard communication. The symbols don't require translation, they're self-executing. A crucial phrase from the document states, upon being viewed, SCP-8411 sigils will memetically impart a sense of their meaning onto the observer. This is not visual communication as we understand it. It is an immediate, internalized transfer of a concept that bypasses all traditional cognitive processing. You don't analyze the symbol, the meaning, the fear, the urgency. The instruction is just known. It's designed for instant comprehension. If you're being pursued, you don't have time to decipher a pictogram. You need the full concept dropped straight into your consciousness. It's a survival mechanism that leverages neurological shortcuts. This leads us to the great mystery. Who can even access this language? The file states that after its discovery in 1975, it was noticed that only certain individuals were receptive to this memetic effect. The exact criteria are unknown, but testing data from Site 898 gives us specific profiles. The receptive groups are Mobile Task Force members, specifically Site 898's Search and Rescue MTF Gamma 89, Site Security and Containment Teams. Receptivity might be tied to psychological resilience, familiarity with esoteric threats, or a neurological shift caused by constant exposure to the anomalous. This mechanism isn't just protecting the general population, it's selecting its audience. If you can understand the warning, your mind has already been hardened by exposure. Furthermore, the file details a gradual receptivity curve. Those who spend sufficient time studying or locating SCP-8411 instances will gradually become receptive. This is a critical finding. Receptivity is not purely innate. It can be trained or earned. Your brain adapts to process the data transfer, like developing a psychological sensitivity. But this creates an inherent risk. By studying a language designed to warn them away from pursuing entities, Foundation research teams are making themselves perfect targets. They must become susceptible to the message to understand it, a calculated, necessary risk. Now, we come to a fascinating requirement: the specificity of the medium. Foundation personnel who meet the psychological criteria can perfectly replicate the symbols, but the memetic qualities only occur when they are on the bark of paper birch trees. This moves the conversation into localized biophysics. The birch bark isn't just a convenient surface, it's an active, necessary component. We can hypothesize why. Is the bark acting as an organic antenna, focusing a localized memetic field? Birch bark has a high oil content, a unique cellular structure, and was historically significant for writing among early North American peoples. Perhaps there is a specific resonant frequency in the Betula papyrifera cellular structure that enables the successful broadcast of these concepts directly into the human mind. The tree becomes the conduit for the warning. Now that we understand the transmission mechanism, we can move into the catalogue itself, the heart of the document, and the true map of the anomalous Appalachian interior. This catalogue of 15 known symbols functions as a full dictionary. We'll go through them sequentially, interpreting the immediate meaning and perhaps the tactical context. We start with the more practical markers concerning location and general safety. Symbol 01. The meaning is direct. Stand nearby. A footnote provides critical context, stating this most likely refers to tree stands, man-made platforms for hunting. In this environment, marking a pre-existing human structure that offers elevation and cleared sightlines means marking a vital defensive position, a moment of respite, or a place to survey for immediate threats. Symbol 02. This is the clearest positive designation. safe zone. This is a point of guaranteed security. The mere necessity of explicitly labeling a safe zone highlights how pervasive and constant the danger must be everywhere else. Here, safety is the anomaly. Symbol 03. This is our first true general warning. Be alert. This is a general advisory, suggesting you're moving out of a safe zone or entering an area of low-level ambient threat. No specific danger is named, which is itself a warning. You must raise your psychological preparedness simply to proceed. Symbol 04. Dangerous wildlife near. Footnotes specify this impression is of bears, cougars, or coyotes. This grounds the code in reality, but viewed through an anomalous lens, it suggests that even mundane threats here might be anomalously large, aggressive, or intelligent. Symbol 05. This is a critical tactical command. Hold your fire. Do not proceed. This is a necessary stop to all movement and a specific prohibition on using weapons. This implies a scenario where engagement might trigger a catastrophic reaction, perhaps from an entity that feeds on aggression or uses sound to locate prey. Symbol 06. Hunters welcome. This is found near residential cabins. This demonstrates the seamless integration of this anomalous language with everyday communities. The people living there are active participants, using this system for survival and standard community signalling, indicating a deep, localized cultural knowledge of the dangers. As we move into the next category, the warnings shift from the general threats to chilling psychological and entity-specific hazards. Symbol 07. Someone vanished here. Do not search. This is a warning of irrevocable loss, with a mandatory self-preservation order. It implies a highly lethal mechanism of removal, and the prohibition on searching suggests that looking for the lost person makes the searcher the next victim. Symbol 08. Do not enter alone. This codifies classic survival protocol instantly. It signals a threat that specifically targets lone individuals or terrain that requires group redundancy for defense or navigation. Symbol 09. This is a direct mental instruction. Ignore sounds. This is crucial defense against psychological warfare. It prepares the viewer's mind to resist non-visual stimuli, cries or calls used to disorient or lure people in. Symbol 10. Check amount. This is a sudden, urgent command focused on logistics. It may be an order to immediately verify your remaining resources, ammunition, food, water. This isn't a general reminder. It implies you are entering a zone where a single low magazine or an empty canteen will lead to immediate, fatal consequences. Your vulnerability is now directly tied to your precise level of preparedness. Symbol 11. Won't stay dead long. This necessitates a total change in engagement tactics. It refers to something highly resilient, capable of regeneration or reanimation. Standard neutralization is inadequate. You need overkill or specialized weapons. Symbol 12. A direct counterpoint to Symbol 9. No one is calling your name. This functions as a critical sanity check against auditory lures designed to mimic known voices. It's a defense against the deepest psychological infiltration, telling you to trust your training over the illusion. We now move to the apex of the danger, the signs of pervasive surveillance and the specific named enemy that ties this narrative together. This section confirms the Appalachian wilderness is an intelligence network. Symbol 13. Something hears. This warns of latent acoustic awareness, suggesting sensitive monitoring by an unknown entity listening for mistakes or movement. Symbol 14. Something watches. This is an escalation from hearing to active visual surveillance. The user is forced to operate under the assumption of perpetual observation. This build-up culminates in the final, most revealing symbol. Symbol 15, the ultimate reveal, the only symbol that names a specific entity, suggesting the primary threat the entire system is designed to navigate. She who sees through trees. This entity is highly likely the source of the observation in symbols 13 and 14, the apex threat, and the name is the key. We must connect this back to the medium. The entire communication system only works when the symbols are on birch trees. And now we have an entity named for its ability to see through trees. If the birch trees are the necessary conduit for the survival guide, does that also mean they are linked to this entity's sensory input? The code's very existence, its reliance on the birch medium, might be simultaneously creating the survival guide and identifying targets for the primary threat. Every birch carving becomes a potential vulnerability, a terrible irony at the heart of survival. The code isn't about fighting, it's about evading the gaze of she who sees through trees. So, we've mapped out a functional, immediate language used in an environment plagued by active, named anomalous threats. We've gone from a cryptic file number to understanding a full 15-point codebook, its technical requirements, and the nature of its dangers. The overwhelming message is one of defense. Out of 15 symbols, only 2 offer positive affirmation. The entire language is built on warning, evasion, and psychological defense against active surveillance. The inhabitants developed a system focused almost entirely on what must be ignored, avoided, or destroyed, rather than what must be found. It suggests the dominant force is actively hostile and perpetually tracking its prey. This is fundamentally a language of constant retreat and vigilance. The final provocative thought is this: if the entire system depends on the birch tree bark to function, and the ultimate threat is she who sees through trees, is the code simply a necessary warning? Or is it, by its very existence and reliance on the medium, an unintentional beacon drawing the attention of the very thing it warns against? Something to mull over the next time you see a symbol carved into the pale bark of a birch tree. Thank you once again for joining me in exploring more of the SCP Foundation's files. Until our next discovery, stay curious and stay safe. I'll see you in the next one.